story, we were told that Dave Chappelle was crazy. I think we were even told that he was bipolar. He definitely had something going on when he went away. And then he came back and he sat down with Oprah and he spoke about handlers. He spoke about people offering him $50 million, which he decided to turn down when he recognized that these handlers were controlling him. He claimed that he was being used by them and manipulated by them, and that they had lied intentionally and told the press various things about him that were not true. One such example he gives is that they told the press when he was just trying to take a break because he had realized that he was maybe doing a deal with the devil. You know what was most compelling about that interview they did with Oprah back in 2006? He also says that they tried to convince him that he was crazy. Take a listen.
The whole time, they're trying to convince me I'm insane. They were trying to get me to take psychotic medication. Yeah. Like I'm sitting around, I was stressed out, but the people that were telling me that I was insane, I believe that they knew what was going on.
Very interesting. So Ye says that there were handlers that were trying to drug him and to tell him that he was insane. In fact, they did end up drugging Ye in a hospital. Now Chappelle is saying that the exact same thing almost happened to him, and the media has told us that both of these men are crazy. And guess what? The year before that clip aired, Tom Cruise was also maimed and caricatured in the press. We were told that he was crazy, that he was a little loony, after he sat down with Matt Lauer and said this.
Here we are today, where I talk out against drugs and psychiatric abuses of electric shocking people, okay, against their will, of drugging children with them not knowing the effects of these drugs. Do you know what Adderall is? Do you know Ritalin? Do you know now that Ritalin is a street drug? Do you understand that?
The difference is, this was not against her will, though. This wasn't against her will.
Madam, asking a question.
I understand there's abuse of all of these things.
No, you see, here's the problem.
Oh, hey, welcome in, guys.
Psychiatry.
Hit that like and subscribe.
All it does is
I'm out here doing Pokemon and Candace Owens today. See if I can get a hit real quick. I got some perfect orders.
That's all it does. You're not getting to the reason why. There is no
Talk
such
to us,
thing
Tom.
as a chemical imbalance. And I'm saying that drugs aren't the answer. That these
Drugs are not the
very
answer.
dangerous. They're
Oh, fuck nothing.
mind-altering, antipsychotic drugs. And there are ways of doing it without that, so that we don't end up in a brave new world.
Thanks for being here, guys.
Mind-altering antipsychotic drugs. Speaking about the history of psychiatry. You don't know the history of psychiatry, he says to Matt Lauer.
Hey, shout out to whoever's double tapping the screen. Love you.
Exact moment. You could literally trace it to one episode in which I started dealing with a full media firestorm attack when the media turned on Candace Owens. It was when I dove into, you can look at this, fact check this, earlier this year, the history of psychology and Sigmund Freud. They went nuts. It's
Sigmund
an
Freud
untouchable
is a
area.
freak.
You can't speak about it, but it's everything that you need to know. You should deeply research. Begin with Sigmund Freud. It is dark, it is disturbing,
Yeah, it's dark.
and it is religious so far as it is like the
That motherfucker wanted to fuck his mom.
It's all real. It's right in front of your face. Very deeply disturbed, sexual, perverse individuals turned philosophy into what I believe is a fake craft of psychology, almost a form of witchcraft, which then became, down the line, Sigmund Freud's family, like I told you, created propaganda. That is Edward Bernays, his nephew, and the effects of that are what we are seeing today. Propaganda, psychology, mass psychoses implemented upon the world via the media. So they control these handlers that take over Hollywood. They insist, these handlers, on controlling every single person in Hollywood because Hollywood is the vehicle. It is the vehicle in which they can modify our behavior. We worship celebs, right? We follow celebs, we follow celeb trends. And so these handlers have to get celebs to behave in a certain way. In that same interview, crazy Dave Chappelle recalled being peer pressured by handlers to do something very odd, to wear a dress. Take a listen to this.
I mean, I'm a conspiracy.
This is a long ass time ago. I remember this fucking interview.
Like when I connect dots that maybe shouldn't be connected, I don't know. But certain guys, like when I see that they put every black man in the movies in a dress.
Hey, what up, Amelia?
At some point in
Welcome.
my career, I'll be connecting them. They're like, wow, all these brothers gotta wear a dress.
Hang out with
This
me.
happened to me. Sarita comes in, Rowdy's like, Dave.
Yeah, me too. She's awesome.
He got this hilarious scene where Martin's sneaking out of jail. So he disguises you as a prostitute.
Oh, she got like 45 people in there. Hell yeah. Let me do a pack of cards real, guys. See if I get a hit. Hit that like and subscribe, guys. Talk to us, Dave.
That should have been in the discussion. What? You don't feel comfortable with it. I mean, it's a hilarious bit. All the greats have done it.
Hilarious. Oh, here we go. Hey,
Very
fuck yeah, on the live.
Because,
Esper.
by the way, don't listen to him
I'll
because
take
he's
an
crazy.
Esper.
Kanye's crazy. He's crazy. Tom Cruise is crazy. And
Yeah, all these
also,
motherfuckers are
I
crazy
remember crazy drug
When they want to get dressed up
as
in,
Cat
like bitches and
Williams
shit, it's fucking
similarly
crazy.
told us
It's all crazy.
that he was being manipulated by the media when they tried to convince
Hell yeah,
the
got
world
one
that
hit.
he was a drug addict, but he insists that he had never touched that stuff. He had never touched crack cocaine. And he also spoke out about this peer pressure for people in Hollywood to start wearing dresses. Take a listen to Cat Williams speaking to Joe Rogan about that.
Yup, cat.
You don't care how people feel about the ritual. It's about just following the ritual work. And so you can fool yourself into thinking there isn't one, but the evidence will be clear. So like when I be like, oh, these guys are wearing dresses. Everybody's like, oh, he keeps talking about people wearing dresses. No, it's not like that. Look at it from a different way. Look at it. Show me one person that ever wore a dress in Hollywood unsuccessfully. That's how you understand what
Yeah, that's
ritual
true.
is. So 20 years ago, I knew that transgenders was going to be a thing. It wasn't because I was a prophet. It's just I had gotten so much information that
Fucking
I
camera.
understood that things are secular. So I understood that the earliest I had seen that word transgender was Baphomet, the transgender.
Funny he brings up Baphomet because there is, in fact, a religion that undergirds all of this. And like I said, my entry point for recognizing that was looking up Sigmund Freud. And until the media accepts and the school system rejects Sigmund Freud, media accepting the reality about who he was, who his friends were, and what religious cult they were in, then you should have a lot of questions about where you're sending your kid to school and what exactly and who exactly they are following in Hollywood. Don't be naive. So the question is, who do you choose to believe? Well, I don't know. A lot of these celebrities who are getting named and caricatured have been correct about a lot of things. Some of them so way ahead of the curve. I mean, remember Jenny McCarthy? Yeah, I don't know if you know this, but back in 2009, the entire mainstream media apparatus came down on her. When she told a story about her son, Evan, who she took to get vaccines, then he suffered a febrile seizure, which, by the way, is a warning as something that can happen on each and every one of the vaccine inserts. She then publicly claimed that the vaccines gave her son autism. Big no-no. Jenny McCarthy would not shut up about this. Take a listen to a conversation that she had with Larry King alongside her then partner, Jim Carrey.
Back in 1989, the shot schedule was 10 shots given.
10 shots given.
When I was a kid, what do we get?
It's twice as many as anywhere else in 30 countries in the Western world.
But
We give twice as many shots as any of those countries. Why is that?
if it's vaccination and you're not against vaccination, well, what are you against? Don't vaccinate for this, but vaccinate for that.
Yes.
I think we have to choose which
How
ones
do
are
I know
absolutely
which
necessary.
You should educate yourself. We want to empower parents to educate themselves. Do we need to have the chickenpox? Do we need the hepatitis B shot on the second day of life?
Yeah, why? Why?
Afford to assume that the people who are charged with our public health any longer have our best interest at heart all the time.
Nah, hospitals are businesses.
So what do you think, guys? What do you think? Do you think all of these celebrities truly are, and I want you to go back and find these articles, are crazy? Conspiracy theorists have lost their minds, need to be medicated with antipsychotics, are dangerous. Gosh, Tom Cruise, dangerous. Jenny McCarthy, dangerous. What they are saying. Candace Owens, dangerous for YouTube. I'm profiting off of conspiracy theories and hatred. Were they doing the exact same thing? Or are we waking up to something? Here's the good news. I think we have reached critical mass. I think when you get to the point that they are now trying to manipulate the markets, trying to silence voices, and they are failing at that, I think that's a good sign. I think that no matter what, you should be encouraged. And maybe we should be thanking all of the crazy, unhinged people for having the courage to say what is true.
Nice. Love you, Candace. Let's go find some other shit. Hey, one person hanging out. Thanks for being here. Bear with my terrible fucking internet. Is that motherfucker Nick Fuentes? I know he's running somewhere. Nothing wild. Start that shit over.
In January 1964, Lyndon Johnson is the president. Israel is believed to have tested their nuclear weapon 2 months after JFK was killed. According to American intelligence, the earliest timetable that Israel could have acquired a nuclear weapon was in January 1964, just months after JFK was killed. This is when they went nuclear. After Lyndon Johnson becomes the president, the amount of foreign aid to Israel triples. And previously, whereas foreign aid to Israel was almost all humanitarian and economic aid,
hey, welcome
now
in, guys.
3 times as big,
hit that
and
like
it's
and
all
subscribe.
weapons. It's missiles, it's advanced weaponry, it's tanks, it's all military equipment. And suddenly, the American administration is all in favor of Israel. There's no balance at all. In 1967, Israel launches a surprise attack on Egypt and Syria. Israel pushes and finds that Egypt's air force is completely vulnerable. They're able to sneak onto one of Egypt's airfields, and they find out that they're totally deaf, dumb, and blind. They won't see it coming. So in 1967, Israel starts the Six-Day War, another Arab-Israeli war. Israel launches a surprise attack on Egypt's air force and then Syria's air force. Egypt invades the Gaza Strip and the Sinai Peninsula, which is, hang on, I don't have the map in front of me. Egypt invades the Sinai Peninsula here, and they invade the Golan Heights in Syria up to here. They actually go all the way to Damascus, and they're shelling Damascus, but they create a ceasefire line in the Golan, and they take the West Bank. And so Israel controls all of this. They control everything from the Golan in the north, inside Syria, the West Bank, the Gaza Strip, and they control all of the Sinai Peninsula. Israel is at its territorial peak. During this campaign, there is an American radar ship, a reconnaissance ship off the coast of Israel, the USS Liberty. The reconnaissance ship was there to keep an eye on the evolving military situation in the build-up to the Six-Day War. Israel believes that if that reconnaissance ship is there, it will detect Israeli troop movements that are moving towards Egypt, and it might blow the element of surprise. The United States might know the full extent of their military activities. So Israel launches an all-out attack on the USS Liberty off the coast of Israel. They shoot the ship, they bomb the lifeboats, they see the American flag flying on it, and they attack anyway. Later they claim it was a case of mistaken identity. They say they thought it was an Egyptian ship, and they shot it down on accident. But it would have been impossible for them to think it was an Egyptian ship. It was waving a giant flag. They shot the lifeboats. It was radioed to them. This is an American ship. They sunk it anyway. They tried to kill everybody on board.
Yeah, that's right. And even until today, the Israelis are still trying to cover up the fact that they attacked the USS Liberty. But it is
Hey,
just
welcome
the
in
fact
everybody.
there were
Hit
so
that
many
like.
witnesses who literally saw that Israeli
Come hang
planes
out
were
with me. Let's
attacking the
learn.
ship, were attacking the USS Liberty. And the Israelis were using the excuse that they thought it was maybe an enemy ship. That's nonsense. There was like a huge American flag. The whole ship was marked. And there were so many witnesses in lifeboats. They also attacked these lifeboats.
How do you mistake a
Why would you
fucking
do that?
warship?
It was like they didn't want to have any witnesses of
You don't
like full
fucking
attack.
mistake that.
This whole case is super shady. They're still trying to cover this up until today, and that shows you how our greatest ally really is.
Because they did not want the U.S. government to know what they were doing in Egypt. Do you know who was a part of the cover-up? Who headed up the investigation on behalf of the Navy a few months later? John McCain Sr. John McCain Sr. headed up the audit into Israel's attack on the Liberty. This is in 1967. That's the Six-Day War. 6 years later, in 1973, Egypt has been humiliated. Syria has been humiliated. These are two military powers in the region, thought to be on par with Israel. They're seeking revenge for what Israel did. And so the president in Egypt, Anwar Sadat, comes up with a plan. They're going to do a surprise attack on Israel. And they collaborate with Syria to do it. On October 6th, 1973, during Yom Kippur, Egypt and Syria launch an attack on Israel from both sides. Egypt lands on the west bank of the Sinai Peninsula and moves to take the Sinai from Israel. Syria invades from the north, and they take back the Golan Heights near the Sea of Galilee. Israel's caught totally off guard.
A
About
fan.
12 hours before the attack, they begin mobilizing reservists. But it's too little too late. They appear to be overrun. Golda Meir, the Prime Minister of Israel, calls up President Nixon and the Secretary of State Henry Kissinger, and she says, you need to bail us out.
Hey, come outside, hang out with me.
We might take extraordinary measures. At the same time, they take out their nuclear bombs so that they can be detected by U.S. reconnaissance. Israel's pushed to the brink of destruction in a surprise attack.
Hey, 3 people in
The
here.
United
Shoot me a
States
like,
is
guys.
reluctant to intervene
I
because
appreciate
we
it.
believe that if
More
we
than you
go
know.
in, the Soviet Union will go in on the side of Syria and Egypt. So the United States is deliberating, should we bail out Israel? Golda Meir pulls out Israel's nukes and says, well, if you don't come in, we might have to take extraordinary measures. And Nixon gets the message. They
That's
send in
wild.
a giant airlift of equipment.
That's wild.
And by replenishing Israel's equipment, Israel's able to beat back the Syrians and the Egyptians. They rout the Egyptians. They land on the west side, the west bank of the Sinai, and they encircle the Egyptian columns that are inside Sinai. They push the Syrians back to Damascus, and the war is over in a few weeks. During the ceasefire, Israel does not keep their end of the bargain. They keep firing on Egyptians and Syrians. The Soviet Union threatens to get involved. They say that if Israel won't abide by the ceasefire, we'll deploy our troops to the region, and this would start World War III. Finally, a deal is made. Israel adheres to the ceasefire. Everybody pulls out. But it's after this happens in 1973 that many of the left-wing Jews in America move to the right wing. Many of the American Jews, who were all communists at this point, Bolsheviks were all Jews, American communists were all Jews. All these left-wing Jews in America who are Trotskyites, they're communists, they're in New York, they're part of this intellectual movement, they see that the Arabs surprised attacked Israel with the help of the Soviet Union. They realize the Soviet Union might destroy Israel. The Arabs might destroy Israel. If Israel goes, Jews will never be safe. So in 1973, the neoconservative movement is born. And all the neoconservatives are former left-wing Jews that got mugged by reality. They saw that their communist utopia.
Hey, thanks for the hearts. I appreciate it, whoever sent that.
So they become the biggest Cold Warriors. They become the biggest foreign policy hawks. They say now we need to destroy the Soviet Union because the Soviet Union backed the surprise attack on Israel that almost destroyed it. So all these guys like Irving Kristol and John Podhoretz and many others from Commentary Magazine,
Love you.
all these Jewish publications, they all come aboard the right wing and they become the biggest Cold Warriors.
Well, this sounds very familiar, right? Because this is not something new. We can see the same thing happening
Come on, Ted, hang out, bro.
A Mark Levin or a Ben Shapiro,
For real,
who
man.
were the biggest anti-Trumpers, and now suddenly they are his biggest supporters. And we all know why. Because Trump is not America first, he is Israel first. And then suddenly they will switch sides. If it is in favor of them, they will just switch sides like it is
Oh,
not
maybe,
a problem at
maybe
all.
not, though.
We
I'm
can see
smoking
this
out
now,
here.
so this is not something new. It started then already, and how are we still surprised by this? But that actually shows you that many of these supporters or many of these donors who actually support Trump, they only support him if Trump will do some things in favor of them, and the moment when he won't do that anymore, they won't support him as well. That's exactly how it is. This is not something new, and this is just another example.
In 1975 in Israel, there's a big commission that's meant to do an audit on how Israel was caught by surprise, how they didn't see it coming. Because even though they won the war, it's still a major victory morally for the Egyptians and Syrians that they were able to have these military victories and catch Israel off guard. In 1976, the Likud party comes to power in Israel. For the first time, even though Israel was dominated for many decades by the Labor Party, by left-wing parties, a right-wing party called Likud, which emerges from the revisionist Zionists that wanted all of Israel, that wanted Transjordan, they come to power. And they have a new doctrine. It's promulgated by Oded Yinon. They say the new doctrine of the state of Israel is we have to destroy all of our enemies. Oded Yinon's plan for the 1980s says the only way that Israel can be safe is if we destroy all of our neighbors. It says that
Fucking
even though
everybody?
our neighbors are strong militarily and our borders are under threat, he says our neighbors are actually weak because they're based on diversity. Oded Yinon says that Lebanon has 5 different nations inside of it. It has a Christian nation, a Shiite nation, a Druze nation, all kinds of different ethnicities living inside. It says Syria has Alawites in the west, Sunnis everywhere else, Druze in the south. It says that Egypt has a big Coptic Christian population, a big Muslim population. It says that Iraq has the Kurds and the Sunnis and the Shiites. Iran has a lot of Turks and Persians and other groups living inside of it. So in the late 1970s, when the Likud party comes to power after the failures of the left-wing party to anticipate the surprise attack, they say it's time to go on the offensive and blow up all these different countries. In 1978, Israel brokers a peace agreement with Egypt. Israel gives them the Sinai Peninsula. Egypt signs a treaty with Israel. Egypt becomes the first country to normalize relations with Israel. And that is the year, by the way, that Egypt becomes one of the biggest recipients of U.S. foreign aid. And so does Israel. 1978 is the Camp David Accords. They make this treaty. It's ratified in 79. It's in that year that Israel becomes the #1 recipient of foreign aid. Egypt becomes #2. And they both receive massive amounts of money to make this deal. In 1978, Israel goes to war in Lebanon. In 1979, there is an Islamic revolution in Iran. The Ayatollah and the Green Revolution, the Islamic Revolution, overthrows the Shah. They hold the Americans hostage in the embassy, and they declare a revolutionary Shiite caliphate. The Israelis are perturbed by this. In 1982, they invade Lebanon because Palestinians keep doing cross-border raids in Israel. Israel invades Lebanon as part of their strategy to go on the offensive. When they invade Lebanon, Iran comes all the way over and starts training up Lebanese militias, Shiite militias in the south. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard, the guarantor of the revolution,
Man,
comes to
Iran is
Lebanon
so
and starts training
fucking
them
big
up. That
compared to
becomes
them. Holy
Hezbollah.
fuck.
In 1981, Iraq is developing a nuclear weapon. They get a reactor from France. They start building up a nuclear weapons program. In 1981, Israel launches a strike on it. They bomb the reactor. Iraq and Iran begin a 10-year war in the 1980s. Israel and the United States back both sides. Israel predominantly backs Iran because they view Saddam Hussein in Iraq as the bigger threat, because he's developing a nuclear weapon. In 1990, Iraq invades Kuwait. Iraq threatens to invade Saudi Arabia. It launches missiles at Israel. George Bush invades Iraq. And he does not topple the government of
Fucking
Saddam
learning
Hussein.
all this shit today.
He oversees the destruction of their nuclear, chemical, and biological
Hey, hit that like
weapons
and
programs.
subscribe, guys.
He demilitarizes
I'd really appreciate
Iraq, its missiles, its navy.
Come hang out. Let's learn.
But he leaves the regime intact. In response to this, Israel almost kills George Bush because Israel wants the United States to topple the Saddam Hussein regime. 1994, Israel makes peace with Jordan. Jordan becomes the second country to normalize relations with Israel. Jordan becomes the third largest recipient of U.S. foreign aid. In 1996, a new doctrine is put out. This one is by Richard Pearl, Douglas Faith, David Wormser, and this is coordinated by the Bibi Netanyahu government in Israel. They call it the Clean Break Memo. They say that for too long, the Israeli government is not right-wing enough. They say even though we're on the offensive, they say we're still not safe. They say we gave up the Sinai Peninsula for peace with Egypt. They said we gave up the West Bank for peace with Jordan. They said we don't want to give up Golan for peace with Syria. We can't keep giving up land in exchange for peace with the Palestinians and our neighbors. They say, so we need a clean break with the past. And in order to secure our northern border, because Egypt and Jordan are already taken care of, they say we need to knock out Saddam Hussein in Iraq, we need to take out Syria, and then we need to take out Iran.
Alright guys, I just have one question. Pay attention to this map. Do you really believe that this tiny country named
Bro,
Israel...
look at the
despite
size
all
of
these
Israel
bigger
compared
countries
to
surrounding
Iran.
them,
My
will
God.
help them? Of course not. Of course not. And this is the main problem. This is the core of the problem of all these wars. Because
Fun
Israel
fact,
can fight
Israel
all
is
these
the
wars
size of
because
New
they know that
Jersey.
we will help them. And that's exactly what we saw now with this stupid Iran war. We are now in a war with Iran because of Israel. That's not just my opinion. Many people said this. Even Marco Rubio told us this himself. And that's the main problem. Because if we make clear to Israel that we are not going to help them anymore, if they will start any new wars, there won't be any more wars. Because they know they could never fight Iran by themselves. Iran would completely destroy
Oh my
Israel.
God, they would
one
eat
day
them.
if they didn't have any nuclear weapons. So this is just stupid. And isn't it also like kind of weird that you have like a tiny country who is responsible for almost all the wars in the Middle East, and they're also like the latest country. They're not even 100 years old. All the surrounding countries surrounding Israel, they're way older. They live there way longer. So imagine you, for example, take yourself. Imagine you move to a new neighborhood. You're like new there, and then you're gonna tell other people, no, you have to move your house. I want to take a piece of your garden. I don't want to see this. And you have to change that. Just like the moral of the story is, imagine you go somewhere and you're like the newest person over there, and then you're gonna tell all these other people, I want something from you, and you have to change this. That's kind of weird, right? How can you do that? And that's also like why Israel is always like, why they're always like fighting these wars, because they're always telling all their other countries what they should do, and this just has to stop, because Israel's not the boss of the Middle East. I mean, like, they're acting like they are the boss of the Middle East, but they're not entitled to like tell other countries what they can do and what they can't do. But they do this because they know that their biggest brother, us, we will help them anyway, and this has to stop, because the moment we stop this, they will not act like this, and believe me, that will solve so many problems in the Middle East.
We need to take out Iraq because Saddam Hussein is too belligerent. We need to take out Syria because they remain fundamentally at war with us and challenging us. And we need to take out Iran because they have trained up Hezbollah in Lebanon and they're sponsoring some of our adversaries. 2003, the Israelis that drafted that report come into the George W. Bush administration. After 9/11, they fabricate intelligence that Saddam Hussein was involved in 9/11 and other terrorist plots. They say that Saddam Hussein is once again building up his nuclear arsenal, like they did in 91. Their program, which was not fully destroyed in 1990, they claim, we need to go in. The United States invades Iraq and topples the government. But Israel wants more. Israel wants us to invade every country. In 2003, Libya voluntarily denuclearizes. Libya sees what has happened to Iraq. Libya makes an agreement with the United States. We'll give up our nuclear program. You can inspect it, just don't invade us. In 2006, Netanyahu was calling for war in Iran, for war in Syria. In 2007, Israel bombs Syria's nuclear program because they believe they're getting a weapon. In 2011, the Arab Spring starts in Tunisia. Pro-democracy, pro-liberal protests. They spread all across northern Africa. They spread into Libya, to Egypt, then into Syria and elsewhere in the broader Middle East. They bring down Hosni Mubarak in Egypt. He's replaced by the Muslim Brotherhood. They threaten to topple Muammar Gaddafi in Libya. NATO airstrikes led by the United States finish the job. They topple Libya's government. They kill Muammar Gaddafi. In Syria, protests lead to major opposition movements
Muammar
against
Gaddafi
the regime
videos on
of Bashar
YouTube. You can
al-Assad.
watch him on YouTube. Get his ass whooped.
With the Syrian regime and the Iraqi regime weakened, and the United States withdrawing from Iraq in 2011, suddenly there's a radical Islamist group that spawns in the middle of Iraq and Syria. It's called ISIS. And they start ripping through Iraq, ripping through Syria. Now everybody says the United States has to remain in the Middle East. 2013, there's allegations that Assad is using chemical weapons. They say we have to intervene and overthrow the government. Obama declines, but he does eventually get involved in 2014 and 2015. We start bombing pro-government forces, and we're bombing ISIS. This is the history of the Middle East. Israel's at war with all of its neighbors. All of its neighbors start to die.
Hey, this Bosnia.
There's war in Lebanon. There's war in Iraq. The government of Libya is toppled. The government of Egypt is toppled. The government of Syria is toppled. Egypt and Jordan are forced to make peace. They become U.S. puppet states. This is the history of the Middle East. Now, why does Iraq and Syria and Libya and even Iran at one point, why do they have nuclear programs? Because Israel, at the same time, is pursuing regime change against all these different countries. Israel's Afghanistan, which splits them into two countries. Now there's a civil war, so they want to nuclearize. Iraq gets a nuclear program, they get bombed. The United States comes in and dismantles it, they get invaded anyway. They didn't even have nukes. Libya gives up their nukes, they get bombed and replaced anyway. Syria's program gets bombed and they give it up, they get regime changed anyway. This is why Iran wants a bomb. And of course, Israel is protected from all of these conflicts because they're the only ones that have the bomb. They've got the United States in their pocket.
Yeah.
They've got the neocons in the administration.
The fuck? I was waiting this whole
They're
time.
protected from any kind of accountability. They've got two aces in the hole. This is why Iran has a nuclear program. And this is why over the past 20 years, Iran has been building up its deterrent capability.
Yes, and I can understand why Iran wants to have nuclear weapons, because look what happened to them now. Like, do you really believe that we would start a war with them if they had nuclear weapons? Of course not. That's the only way how they can defend themselves, and they know this. And isn't it kind of weird that we, the United States, and many other Western countries, and Israel, that they
Yeah,
can
why not?
decide for other countries
If
they
you
can
want
have
to, it's
nuclear
up to you. I
weapons
don't
or
care.
not. If they have nuclear weapons themselves, like, you could not make this up, right? Why is it that only Israel can have, like, those nuclear bombs in this region? The main reason why Iran wants to have these bombs as well, because Israel has pointed many of these nuclear weapons towards Iran. They have
I'm
no
talking
way
to you,
defend
Bust the
themselves.
Pack,
If they
by the
don't have
way.
these weapons, they will
You're
always
fucking
be
listening.
invaded by maybe the United States, by maybe Israel or some other country. So I can understand that they say, all right, we don't trust you guys anymore. You attacked us multiple times already, because 8 months ago or 1 year ago, we also attacked them. You remember when Trump said, we completely destroyed, obliterated the nuclear facilities in Iran. Didn't happen, and now a year later, we invaded them almost. We started the war with them. So I can understand that they are in Iran a little bit tired of like fighting these wars or being invaded by other countries who are saying that they cannot have a nuclear weapon. Meanwhile, they have a nuclear weapon themselves. We are not like the police agent of the world. We cannot decide for other countries if they can have a weapon like this. They should decide this for themselves. And now, believe me, Iran is more dedicated than ever to create these weapons because they know exactly what happened to them. Look at this war. Look at this war. What else do they have to? They have nothing else to lose, right? Because if they don't have these weapons, they can be invaded 24/7. If they do have those weapons, they can't. So I don't have to explain you what they want, of course.
They have a latent nuclear weapons program, And they have built up a proxy network in Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, inside Yemen. That is to protect themselves from Israel. Israel could always bomb them. The United States could always bomb them. They could always do regime change and invade. Having a proxy network ensures that Iran has a second strike capability to hit Israel back. Having a nuclear arsenal makes it more complicated and more tricky, and serves as a form of a deterrent for the United States getting involved unnecessarily. Then you have the October 7th attacks. That's in response to the new dynamic. After Israel's carried out all these wars, the United States is fatigued, Iran has spread its influence across the region. Israel recognizes it's time now to end the Middle Eastern conflict once and for all. They say that